Ashe, greetings and goodwill to you all. Once again, my fellow natural, native, earthly humans, the world over. This is yours truly, I, the Mystic Philosopher, and welcome to part 21, the continuation of my series of talks titled, Can Africa Be Set Free? Can Burkina Faso, the land of upright people, be set free? Now, if you haven't yet watched or listened to part 1 through to part 20, I ask that you please do so before going forward with this part 21. Or I ask that you please do so at your earliest convenience. Now, by doing so, you may learn something. You may be reminded of something or about something, or at the very least, you may get something to think about, something to, another perspective. And please note that I did not say that by listening to yours truly, you will learn something. Sorry. That you will learn something. But I say that you may learn something. There's a big difference. The truth be told, these talks or these presentations, if you will, are definitely not for everyone. I am well aware of the possibility that, if not the fact, that some of you might be offended by the truths or by, or more correctly, the facts that are enveloped and are being exposed in these my presentations or my talks. But as the late Robert Nesta Marley once said in one of his songs, one of his most famous songs called Jah Live, and I quote, he said, "The truth is an offense, but not a sin," unquote. And as the late Dale Carnegie also said, those convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. And for the record, I am not a con, and neither am I trying to convert or to convince anyone. I'm just sharing another perspective, my perspective on a lot of things. And as I think the Desert Rat also said, listen to the dull and ignorant, they too have their story. So here I go. So in this part 21, I will continue to recap and expound upon some of the facts and thought-provoking insights that I have shared with you thus far, and will continue to share throughout the rest of the series. For example, I shared with you the fact that my, and by extension our, most honorable African ancestors, aka the natural, native, earthly humans, existence upon this our planet and Mother Earth preceded this newly created Janicum lately Adamic race, who now, are the imperialist and the colonialist race of humankind. Our ancestors, and by extension us, we exceeded them hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions of years, prior to their coming here. Number 3, I shared with you the fact that the Adamic race of humankind is the imperialist and colonialist race of humankind, and that they are an invasive species that were and are created, programmed, and predisposed by their Adamic gods or Elohim, to be the imperialist and the colonizers that they are and that they helplessly manifest. Consequently, they are the promoters and administrators of imperialism, colonialism, and by extension, the rest of the family of isms. For those of you who might be hearing the phrase invasive species for the first time and might not know or be sure of exactly what it means, let me give you the meaning and definition from a government website, which is usgs.gov. And I quote, an invasive species is an introduced non-native organism, such as a disease, parasite, plant, or animal, that begins to spread or expand its range from the site of its original introduction, and that has the potential to cause harm to the environment, to the economy, and to human health, unquote. Number 4, I shared with you the fact that the book called the Christian Holy Bible is the Adamic Race History and Holy Book. Number 5, I shared with you the fact that the book called the Christian Holy Bible is the imperialist and colonialist / colonizers history and holy book. 6, I shared with you the fact that the weapon that was used by the imperialists and colonizers to conquer and subdue our most honorable African ancestors and our motherland is religion. Religion, and soon I'll give you a definition of religion and another perspective on that word, religion. Religion was used by both Islam and Christendom or Christianity to conquer, subdue, and control our ancestors and our motherland. And to this day, religion is the weapon that is still being used by the neo-colonialists, the neo-imperialists, and neo-oppressors, if you will, to conquer, subdue, and control the majority of our people to this day. Number 7, I share with you the fact that we must stop praying to and worshiping their God. And God's meaning the neo-imperialists, the neo-colonizers, and the neo-oppressors' God and gods. I also told you that you must give them back their religion, and by extension their religions and all their holy books, and take back our mind and our land. For until we do, we can never and we will never be free. And that from my perspective, this is what the late Robert Nesta Marley meant, or at the very least, this is what he implied in one of his most famous songs called Redemption Song, when he said, and I quote, "Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery, none but ourselves can free our minds," unquote. And I also shared with you and defined for you the difference between freedom versus free, and gaining freedom versus being free. Number 8, I shared with you the fact that by the same token, I ask that you please stop calling upon and praying to the enemies of our most honorable ancestors, which by extension are our enemies as well. The Adamic race, the Adamic race gods, the imperialists, colonialists, and colonizers, gods and saviors, etc., prophets, etc., and asking them to protect, or asking them for protection for our young and worthy to be called great leader, Ibrahim Traore. Please, I ask that you please stop doing that. Stop praying to the enemy's God and asking our enemy's God for protection for our son, the son of Africa. I also notice with great concern that a lot of African Christian pastors and preachers and dedicated servants of the imperialist and colonialist or the colonizers' God and gods and religions, etc., on the continent of Al-Cubelan, aka Africa. And in the diaspora as well, I also notice with great concern that they are fervently praying too, and also instructing their converts, their church members, and their congregations to pray and call upon the imperialists and colonizers as God and gods and Savior. The same imperialists and colonialists, humankind, that want to wrongfully arrest, wrongfully persecute, and wrongfully and maliciously delete or erase my beloved brother Ibrahim Traore from off the face of the earth. These pastors and others are knowingly and unknowingly, consciously and unconsciously, praying to their imperialist and colonialist God and gods and saviors and prophets, etc., to protect my brother from them meaning the imperialists and colonialists who desperately and intentionally want to delete him. Can someone please tell I, the Mystic Philosopher, how does that make logical and rational sense? It is like complaining to my enemy's parents about being wronged by my enemy and by being wronged by my enemy, and expecting them, the parents of my enemy, to take sides with me against their own child and severely or duly punish their child. Number 9, I shared with you the fact that the concept, purpose, and job of a God is likened to that, or can be likened to that of a parent. And the job and obligation of a good parent is to care for and protect their own children by any and every means necessary. Number 10, I shared with you the fact that praying to and beseeching the imperialist God, or the imperialist colonizers and oppressors God, gods and saviors and prophets and lords, you name it, for protection for our beloved brother Ibrahim Traore and his people, the people of Burkina Faso, does not only defy logic and activated common sense, but it won't work to his advantage. It also won't work to his advantage. And that it can't work to his advantage, but only to his detriment. It will only work to help bring him down by praying and calling upon his, and by extension our enemy's God, is only putting the man's life in more danger. For example, it might only be opening up, for those of you who are in the know, it might only be opening up portals in the spirit realm for the evil spirits to penetrate, and also by doing so, it will only make it more challenging for our source and the warrior spirits of our most honorable ancestors to do their work spiritually and continue covering and protecting him. For your information, this is high science. This is high metaphysics I'm talking to you about. Now, making intercession, divination, invocation, and all other necessary spiritual actions for the continued physical and spiritual protection of our beloved brother and young leader Ibrahim Traore should and must only be done by our elders, honorable African ancestors, must only be done by our elders or priests, and by our most knowledgeable and experienced practitioners of our most honorable African ancestors' spirituality. Those of you that are in the know, will understand, and understand what I'm talking about. Now I ask that you please join me in part 22 for the continuation of Can Africa Be Set Free? Can Burkina Faso, the land of upright people of integrity, be set free? In the meantime and between time, here is willing, not wishing, but willing, that you be more and more and much, much more, and definitely not be less. Don't be less, and let no one be less you. For I am the mystic philosopher. Ashe, 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 I say.